Welcome back to Ghost Month. We are now in the back half of this silly little series for the second last installment. And honestly, I almost changed my mind about the ghost type that we're doing this time because it's Hisuian Typhlosion. And it developed enough of a place in the meta while I was planning this that I thought it might not really be worthwhile anymore. And I was even working on a different idea, but I think what I want to do with Hisuian Typhlosion is interesting enough to be worth a go. It does start with the usual pairing with Whimsicott, able to set Sunny Day and Tailwind, but the Sunny Day might be the higher priority because I think it's going to be Choice Scarf Hisuian Typhlosion. And the reason for that is I kind of want to try pairing it with Darkspun. Darkspun is a Pokemon that I actually used for a while in Regulation C to try to check the New Balance teams with Chi-Yu, Iron Hands, Gyarados, etc. Thanks to its unique ability, Well-Baked Body, it takes no damage from fire attacks, and it gets a 2-stage defense boost. So if you use a Lava Plume into it, then you damage the opponents, you potentially burn them with that 30% burn rate, get the attack off as quickly as possible with a Choice Scarf, and you also buff your own Darkspun, making it harder for the opponent to take down and giving it a stronger body press. I did this with Chi-Yu in Regulation C. I based it on a team that placed well in a regional made by a player named Brendan King, I think. And then I based my NAIC team that year pretty closely, my first NAIC team, pretty closely on his Chi-Yu Darkspawn team. I think it'll be interesting with Hisuian Typhlosion because I don't have to go Terra Ghost to avoid Fake Out. It's already Fake Out immune without Terastallizing. The biggest issue with Darkspawn, at least with the set that I'm likely to use, is that it doesn't have coverage into Ghost types. And I do need to be a little bit alert to opposing Goldango with the two fairies here, though Typhlosion can help me cover for that. In any case, between that and Psy-Spam teams being potentially strong into what I have so far, I think it's worthwhile to have a Dark type. And my first thought is Incineroar, because I like Incineroar on Sun teams for getting a boosted Flare Blitz, so it can do a lot of damage without necessarily a lot of investment into its offense. It might be a little odd to run two Fire Starters here, but I think they play very different roles, and so it's a reasonable starting point. From there, we can get Rillaboom onto the team. A little bit of a pivoting and fake-out core with Incineroar can help keep Darkspun healthy, double recovery with the grassy terrain. It can target water types that give Typhlosion trouble, of course, and I guess stuff like Tyranitar as well, unless it goes Terra Flying. And then, yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It covers for the fire types' weaknesses, and it gives more opportunities to get Darkspun going with Fake Out and get attacks off with Typhlosion, as well as the passive recovery being nice, and being able to pivot around. And then finally, my thought for the last slot is Sneasler, which at time of recording is a major presence in the meta. I think I need something to help me deal with Archaludon. Darkspun is okay, but if they have Flash Cannon, then I have a bit of an issue. Yeah, a fighting type is very valuable in this format. I don't think this team is any exception. So I think that Sneasler is probably the best piece. And then also, if I build toward a bulky game plan with Darkspun, of course I can go very offensive with Typhlosion. But if I'm working toward a Darkspun game plan, then Dire Claw status and Poison from Poison Touch might well be helpful. It does mean I probably want Sneasler to have the Focus Sash then, which means Whimsicott maybe carries a Covert Cloak, but I think we can make that work. And as for my own Sneasler matchup with this team, I think basically just, we'll figure it out. I kind of wouldn't mind slapping a Dragonite somewhere, but I don't know where I have room for it. I'll probably do, I think Terra Ghost is probably the best Terra type on Incineroar right now anyway. And in Reg C, I ran Terra Steel Darkspawn, but I'm thinking about Poison this time, which would help into my Sneasler matchup. But that's the basic concept, and I'll cut now to the finished team. And yeah, this is what we're working with. I don't necessarily know that Hisuian Typhlosion and Darkspawn will be good, although I think it's possible. Darkspawn has a very weird, interesting niche in a lot of formats that tends to be underexplored, because if you can set it up with Lava Plume, it is actually a very good answer to a wide range of physical attackers. But we've got the Scarf Hisuian Typhlosion, Frisk, because we'll be playing closed team sheet, I think. Eruption, so it can just do damage. Lava Plume can set Darkspawn up. Flamethrower for single target fire damage, and then Shadow Ball. We've got the Covert Cloak Whimsicott. I threw in Encore because that can also help with the Darkspawn game plan, making it harder for opponents to get attacks off. And then Moonblast, since I don't have fairy coverage on the Darkspawn, Moonblast could be strong into opposing dragon types. The Darkspawn set is very similar to what I used in Reg C, though again with the Poison Terra type now to avoid becoming weak to fighting when it terrestrializes. Got a pretty basic safety goggles, Incineroar, Assault Vest, Rillaboom, and then the Sash, Terradark, Sneasler. Nothing too groundbreaking there. And yeah, we'll just hop on the ladder and see what we can do here with Hisuian Typhlosion as our ghost type for the week, and Darkspawn providing some Halloween treats. Get Double Dragon right off the bat with Kommo-o and Dragapult, supported by Comfey, so this will be some... I mean, this team wants to set Kommo-o up, keep it healthy with Comfey, the Sneasel. The Sableye probably has screen support or something, and then the Flamigo probably has Co-Star. So that's pretty annoying. It makes me think it's more likely to be physical Kommo-o, although actually no, if they just use Clangorous Soul, then they can run special Kommo-o and still take advantage of the boost with physical Flamigo. You don't run special Flamigo because Flamigo has like no special move pool at all, as I found out when I drafted it in the PDL once. But yeah, that does mean that Darkspawn doesn't necessarily shut this down. I think Sneasler is pretty strong into this if I get some status luck. Can at least disrupt what they want to do. I think it might be reasonable to lead like Incineroar, Sneasler. And then... I mean, Typhlosion's good if I can get it going, but I don't know if this is the matchup for that. But I don't know that Rillaboom does much here either. Let's just bring Typhlosion and Whimsicott, I think. Leave the Darkspawn behind for this one. They lead Sableye, Kommo-o, which is, I think, pretty well what I expected. The Sableye can fake out Sneasler, so unfortunately, I think I have to protect Sneasler this turn and not just go right for a Dire Claw into Kommo-o. But I can fake out the Kommo-o, so at least it can't set up for free right now. Yeah, okay, it protects around the fake out, but nothing surprising there. They go for Reflect, actually, with the Sableye. And I will... I'm not running speed investment on Incineroar. Maybe I should be. It's actually very easy to make it faster than uninvested Kommo-o, though I don't know what spreads people are putting on Kommo-o right now. I was thinking about knocking off a possible Throat Spray, but... Well, if I Parting Shot, then the question is what comes in. I could probably get Whimsicott in, so let's do that. And I'll just go right for the Dire Claw. Oh, they Encore Sneasler into Protect. Okay, they got me with that. No Throat Spray, so I don't know what the Kommo-o's item is, but we do take away its offensive boost with the Parting Shot and get Whimsicott in. And actually, I can Encore Kommo-o into Clangorous Soul now. I didn't even think of that until I got Whimsicott in, but the option exists, and I'll just pivot Sneasler out to Incineroar. And if I can keep weakening this Kommo-o, then they can't really set the Flamigo up very effectively either. We see the Steel Terra, but it is locked into Clangorous Soul now. Of course, I'm making it harder to KO, except in that it's doing so much damage to itself. I'll just go right for a Moonblast into Sableye and a Flare Blitz into Kommo-o. I mean, I don't think they can keep Kommo-o in, so maybe I needed to just knock off or Parting Shot that slot. Oh, it's White Herb Flamigo. That's interesting. What's that for? Clanging Scales drops? We get rid of Kommo-o, but we still have the Flamigo to contend with. It does not have any boosted offense, though, just defenses and speed. And we know that it doesn't have Scrappy, so I can go Terra Ghost on Incineroar here pretty safely, especially into this Mouse Hold. I think that makes a lot of sense. What do I want to do with Whimsicott? I can just Moonblast, or I can set Tailwind. I think Tailwind is good, actually, for when I get Sneasler in later. And I'll Terra Ghost and just Parting Shot the Flamigo for now. I don't think I really... Oh, or Parting Shot the Mouse Hold. Fair enough. I don't think I really need Typhlosion in this game. Although, actually, getting Typhlosion in now is good, because now that I have the Tailwind up, I can get a big Eruption. Let's just Moonblast the Flamigo slot and go for an Eruption. Yeah, Typhlosion will actually do some good damage here, I think. Okay, Flamigo is protecting around it. The mice take less than I'd like, actually, but I don't care about the taunt on Whimsicott. I feel like Whimsicott has done its support role at this point. I'll Moonblast the Mousehold slot this time to guarantee the KO with another Eruption. And if they bring Sableye in, then that's not going to enjoy taking a Moonblast, even through their screens. And yeah, Incineroar was just so... Oh, I actually crit the Flamigo and they forfeit. Incineroar was just so disruptive to that opponent's setup. And then once Whimsicott gave me speed control, Typhlosion was able to clean up, but also they couldn't beat Incineroar, and I had Sneasler with its sash still intact in the back. So that was a pretty solid game for this team. We get another Hisuian... We do get another Hisuian Typhlosion, but perhaps more importantly, friend and sometimes enemy of the channel, Dudunsparce, is here. I might just want to set Tailwind right away. Actually, with the Scarf Typhlosion, I can get an attack off into Dudunsparce. So I'll lead Whimsicott Typhlosion. Probably bring Incineroar to this one. It covers their Typhlosion and Rillaboom pretty nicely, and to a lesser extent Sneasler, and actually Farigiraf too. And I like the Intimidated into Dudunsparce. I think I'd be silly not to bring Incineroar to this one. And I don't hate my Sneasler here. But you know, I kind of want to bring Darkspawn, actually. You know what, let's just do it. We'll bring Darkspawn to this game. Boosted Darkspawn could overcome Dudunsparce flinch hacks. It could get past their Sneasler. Okay, yeah, it's Scarf Dudunsparce. I think we saw that coming. Of course, I have Scarf Typhlosion, so Typhlosion will be faster. I think it's probably worth just going for a Tailwind and an Eruption. I probably don't want to use my Terra, though. I think I want to save the Terra for Incineroar or Darkspawn, so this will do a bit less damage without the Terra, but still 60% to Dudunsparce. And I'll just Moonblast the Murkrow, I think. Do I sack Typhlosion here? Obviously, Eruption is not going to KO Dudunsparce now that Typhlosion has taken all this damage. Maybe it's... Actually, if I'm using Eruption, then I never Moonblast the Murkrow. I Moonblast the Dudunsparce instead. And I think I will just do that, as the Murkrow shows Thunder Wave. But we KO Dudunsparce. If we broken through the para there, we KO Murkrow, but that's okay. They forfeit. Alright, so we've overcome Dudunsparce. That's a very good sign for this team, I think. We know how Dudunsparce is on this channel. Actually, at time of recording, I lost to it last time I played it in a Biff Pip tournament. Alright, we got double steal here with Kingambit and Goldengo, so that's good news for my fire types. Although, Incineroar, of course, gives a boost to Kingambit. If Kingambit comes in first or at the same time. And then Dragapult, Amoonguss, Primarina, and their own Incineroar. Darkspawn's probably... Darkspawn kind of loses to Goldengo, and maybe to Primarina, so it's not that good here. I kind of want to just lead Whimsicott Typhlosion again. And then what does that lose to? It actually does have issues with Kingambit because of Sucker Punch. It certainly loses to Incineroar. Dragapult can be tricky. Primarina can be tricky. Let's bring Incineroar and Rillaboom in the back. Maybe I'll regret not having Sneasler, but we'll see. As they lead Incineroar and Kingambit. So I can't even really safely switch my Incineroar in on this. Maybe I needed Sneasler this game. I kind of want to just go right for the Terrafire. I kind of don't want to click Eruption because we'll probably take a Sucker Punch. So let's click Lava Plume instead. Maybe we get something good from that. And I'll go ahead and set Sunny Day. I don't need the Tailwind this turn. Yep, there's the Sucker Punch, so that would badly nerf an Eruption. You know, I didn't think about the fact that Eruption would KO my own Whimsicott, but I guess we take that damage into King Gambit, because now we have to rely on Incineroar and Rillaboom to win this. Yeah, actually, I think that I think I just completely threw this one. But I'll try to KO their King Gambit here and fake out the Incineroar, I guess. Yeah, okay, so Lava Plume hitting the teammate is a liability when the teammate isn't Darkspawn. Gotta keep that in mind. It's not a move that I've used in a while. Probably not since I had that previous Darkspawn team. They bring Primarina in. Depending on its Terra type, I might not be able to just Grassy Glide it, but let's go for a knockoff into their Incineroar, and let's just go for a Woodhammer into Primarina. Even if they Terrastallize into something, it should still do a lot, because Woodhammer from Rillaboom and Grassy Terrain is just strong. It does a lot. It doesn't KO. But both of my Pokemon are especially bulky, and that Hyper Voice, yeah. I was about to say Hydro Voice. That Hyper Voice is nicely nerfed by the terrain, or by the sun. And I actually feel pretty good here to just Flare Blitz Amoonguss and U-turn Primarina. I guess if they switch their Incineroar in, they get Intimidate, and there's not much I can do about that. As, yep, there it is. Okay. And now they're threatening Fake Out. There's not really anything I can do about that either. My Pokemon are slowly getting worn down, although at least I have the Grassy Terrain recovery. Problem is they do too. I'll go for a Flare Blitz into Primarina. There's nothing they can safely switch into that slot. They'll probably just Fake Out my Incineroar, but again, there's nothing I can do about that. And I'll go for a U-turn to try to chip their Incineroar. That's less than I'd like. They take out... Well, okay, they take out Rillaboom, and they get the single target Hyper Voice into my Incineroar. So, even though my Incineroar is strong individually against each of their Pokemon in the back, I think I just can't take the damage at this point. I'll go right for a Flare Blitz into King Gambit. There's nothing actually, Incineroar is safety goggles, so they can't put it to sleep. But yeah, King Gambit is threatening more damage. If I'm lucky, Amoonguss doesn't even have an attack, but that's unlikely, of course. It has Pollen Puff, but went for it into King Gambit. But I'll lose to Flare Blitz Recoil or Pollen Puff here. Yeah. So that game was not as close as it looked. They pretty well had me after turn 1. But hey, we beat that to Dunsparce. We can still coast on that glory for a bit. Okay, Farigiraf, Incineroar, Rillaboom, King Gambit, Gengar, and Gastrodon. Don't see Gastrodon too often right now. Is this a Darkspawn game? Kind of loses to the Gengar, but not necessarily with Terra Poison. It still kind of loses to the Gengar, but Gengar's pretty frail. And I have Incineroar. Let's do it. Let's lead Typhlosion, Darkspawn, and bring Incineroar and Rillaboom. And a King Gambit lead is not going to shut this down, I think. I keep talking about Darkspawn, gotta actually try it at some point, right? It's Incineroar Gengar. Sash Gengar, okay. So Scarf Typhlosion will be the fastest Pokemon this turn. Go right for the Lava Plume. And I don't want Darkspawn to eat a Sludge Bomb, so I'll go Terra Poison and Body Press into Incineroar. They can fake Darkspawn out if they want, but it'd be cool if they don't. They do, okay. Well, we'll get Darkspawn to +2 defense here. Get some chip on Gengar, not so much on Incineroar. Typhlosion goes down, but it's a Darkspawn game plan this time. And I can get my Incineroar in here, go for a knockoff into Gengar. Even if something switches in, we take its item, and I have already used my Intimidate, so I don't have to worry about boosting King Gambit. And I'll just go for another Body Press into the Incineroar slot. The Shadow Ball doesn't do too much to Darkspawn. Don't quite KO the Incineroar, but that's okay. U-turn does, like, nothing. And Gengar is going to get KO'd by knockoff here. Here's a King Gambit. Are they bringing Incineroar in? Yep. Okay. I'll just Flare Blitz into King Gambit and cover for a Fake Out into Darkspawn with Protect. If they Fake Out Incineroar and get like a low kick into it, it makes the position a little trickier, but Darkspawn is very strong into both of these Pokemon, and then I have Rillaboom in the back to help clean up. They do Fake Out my Incineroar. They also get a crit. But they go for Kowtow Cleave into Darkspawn. Of course, I have turned off its Dark Resistance. But I'll double target the King Gambit here, and I think I'll get the attacks off. Protects. Okay, so I do get the attacks off, but they don't do anything. They knock off Darkspawn's leftovers. That's not very good. That might see them break through the Darkspawn this game. I can set up a Wish with it, actually. And I'll just try to damage their Incineroar. And yeah, I'll see if I can keep Darkspawn alive a bit longer to break through this King Gambit. But I'm targeting the Incineroar now with my Incineroar because I might end up having to win this with Rillaboom. Oh, they gave me a... they forgot about the ability and they gave me more defense boost. That's very good for Darkspawn, especially after it gets this Wish this turn. And I'll try here to KO their Incineroar. And I'll just protect Darkspawn. Play it safe. But Darkspawn should be able to beat King Gambit from here. Depending on the Farigiraf set, or I'll even get a Flare Blitz into King Gambit here. Depending on the Farigiraf set, which we'll see now, it is a Throat Spray set, so that could be an issue. But I think Rillaboom in the back can handle it. Just preserving the Rillaboom for now. Actually, maybe a Parting Shot into Farigiraf is good here. AV Rillaboom shouldn't take too much if it comes in, if I even get the Parting Shot off. And I'll just go right for a Body Press into the Darkspawn, into the King Gambit slot. They protect it. Trying to position some damage onto Darkspawn. And actually, that might work out for them because that Hyper Voice does a fair bit. But here I'll go for a Wood Hammer into Farigiraf. It'll KO Incineroar if that switches in. I'll protect Darkspawn. Incineroar switches into the other slot, which of course weakens the Wood Hammer. They're protecting around my attacks pretty well here. I'll double target the Farigiraf slot. A Body Press does some good damage. Darkspawn will take a lot, gets KO'd by the Psychic. That might be the way that I lose this, as I'm also letting the Incineroar get some health back. Okay, so they got me with the Protects and the smart pivoting play. And knocking off Darkspawn's leftovers, but actually we do KO Incineroar there. Rillaboom takes so much from that boosted Hyper Voice though. Alright, I thought I had a Darkspawn endgame figured out, but it didn't work out in the end. And that was a pretty strong matchup for Darkspawn for the most part, so not the best job of validating its niche in the meta. But it was fun while it lasted, and we'll play at least one more game. Here we get Whimsicott, Hisuian Decidueye, Metagross. That's 3 Pokemon weak to fire. But then it's Primarina, Hisuian Arcanine, and probably Flash Fire Saroledge in the last slot. Let's do Typhlosion, Whimsicott. Incineroar for sure. And I kind of want to bring Darkspawn in the back, but I think it's more responsible to bring Sneasler. Sneasler is strong into a lot of these Pokemon. Darkspawn really doesn't do much if I don't set it up. See the Life Orb, Hisuian Arcanine. I kind of want to just switch Incineroar in on that, but it's going to Rock Slide, isn't it? Or Head Smash. Might still be for the best. To get the Intimidate, and I'll Tailwind. They taunt my Whimsicott. And they missed the Head Smash, so that much is good. Of course, I'm the only one with Tailwind up now, but of course they can get Tailwind next. But I can fake out Arcanine and get Sneasler in. Yeah. And then Flare Blitz, Whimsicott, Close Combat, Arcanine. Maybe they get me with some Terra type. Maybe they get me with a double up into Sneasler. Maybe they get me with a Weakness Policy Metagross. That would be fun. Nope, it just takes a bunch of damage from that Flare Blitz. And I think I'll just throw off another one and Dire Claw into Whimsicott. Ah, okay. Now I've given Ceruledge its Flash Fire boost. But Whimsicott's KO'd. I have one more turn of Tailwind. Try again to Flare Blitz the Metagross, and I'll protect Sneasler. If I can KO Metagross here, of course I still haven't used their Terra, but if I can KO Metagross here, then I can just focus on wearing down the Ceruledge after that. Okay, they double up into Incineroar and get rid of it. I'll go Whimsicott. That gets me the only Tailwind on the board now. And I think I'll just go right for a Terra Dark Throat Chop into Metagross. Still trying to get rid of that and isolate the Ceruledge as Metagross goes down, but now they start setting up the bulk up Ceruledge. And actually, I think my best play is probably to lock it in with Encore and click Dire Claw. And actually, as long as I have Encore on the field, which I will for the rest of the game because they have nothing to KO Whimsicott, then it doesn't really matter how long my other Pokemon take to wear Ceruledge down. It's just going to be locked into bulk up forever. That Dire Claw does so much after the Grass Terra, and I get the poison. So, yeah, this one's GG. Yeah, they forfeit before I can select my moves. And we continue to the next game. Sneasler and Whimsicott really showing their might in that one. Alright, here we've got a pretty typical Sunroom team with the Torkoal, Hisuian, Lilligant, Indeedee, Hatterene, Armarouge, and Ursaluna. So tricky to just throw off Eruptions into this one because, of course, Armarouge probably has Flash Fire. But it might be worth it anyway. If I get Scarf Typhlosion in Tailwind against even their Lilligant, that could be a pretty strong start to the game for me. And I think we bring Incineroar for sure. This is the kind of matchup that Incineroar is supposed to help with. I kind of like Rillaboom into the Ursaluna. I don't know that there's much else that I really like into the Ursaluna. I mean, Sneasler is good if Trick Room isn't up. Do I lead Sneasler into this kind of team? No, I don't think so. Maybe I do with the Dark Terra. Let's lead Rillaboom because it can also change the terrain. Or bring Rillaboom, not lead it. Because we do see Indeedee Armarouge lead. So that's hard to deal with for sure. I'll just go for a Flamethrower into Indeedee and switch Rillaboom in. That way I'm not giving Armarouge a Flash Fire boost. And so yeah, they go Wide Guard and probably Trick Room. So they'll get their Trick Room here, but they did get good damage onto Indeedee with that crit. And I'll go out to Incineroar. Terra Fire Rillaboom, I think. Maybe I lose to Ursaluna in the back with all these fire types, but we'll see. And I can U-turn Armarouge. I think that's a good idea. I can also just Wood Hammer. It's resisted, but it does a lot of damage. But I think getting Rillaboom out to preserve the option to change the terrain is valuable here. And actually, in that case, maybe I want to leave Typhlosion in so that I can bring Incineroar in on the U-turn. Typhlosion takes some damage from the Psyshock, but this Flamethrower is going to do a lot now that they've given me the Sun. And then I don't have to worry about terrain control anymore, at least. But I really do have 3 fire types now, so if they have Ursaluna in the back, I'm in danger. Yeah, there it is. And I don't have Protect on very many of my Pokemon. I can fake out Ursaluna, although actually it'll probably Protect anyway to activate Guts. So let's just read that and switch Typhlosion out to Whimsicott and fake out Torkoal. And then I can Encore Ursaluna into Protect if this works. They just go right for Headlong Rush into Incineroar. Not so eager to Encore that. I think I just go Rillaboom here and get what damage I can into Ursaluna with Grassy Glide. It's not great, but I don't know what else I can do here. I'll try to Moonblast it as well. But no, they'll just KO Whimsicott. But yeah, well, I mean... and there's the Ghost Terra. Yeah, I made the Ursaluna hard to deal with for myself here. I actually can now lock the Ursaluna into Facade, which then means that it can't damage Typhlosion, and I can Shadow Ball Torkoal, but lost somehow this turn. Zeroth Power just one-shots. And Facade takes out Whimsicott, so GG's to all opponents. I wouldn't say this was the greatest Hisuian Typhlosion showcase in the world, but we certainly had some good moments with it. And with the Sneasler, and with the Darkspawn. So, fun video for sure, to record at least. I hope it was fun to watch. And next time, the Ghost Month finale.